So I want to show you a test that I've done to show that the flickering problem is definitely not from the battery. And you can look up the flickering problem on the internet, and you can see other people have addressed it different ways. So the problem is when you unplug the laptop, the screen begins to flicker, go out, do different things, stupid things. And it's definitely not the battery, and it's definitely not the software for the battery. I can prove this by showing you that I connected another display with the HDMI cable. So, watching both displays, I'm trying my best to hold this camera back so you can see both. So you see the one on the right is your laptop, the one on the left is the extra display, and you can see when I go down here and start messing with these icons, just rolling across them, it flickers. But you can see over here, it doesn't hurt a thing. You see the mouse moving across the icons, it doesn't do a thing over there, but it affects this one. So it's the power going from the battery through the power switch to the screen. Remembering when you have the power plug in, everything is fine. So the power plug comes in to the plug, goes through the switch, does its stuff through here, and then to the wiring that's right here to the monitor. And everything is fine when it's plugged in, when there's direct power going in. But when it comes from the battery, which is way over here, it wants to do something different. So the problem is in the circuitry between the battery and the monitor, between here and here, not from here to here at all. And it's not the battery, because we put a fresh battery in there, and everything in your settings says that the battery is fine. We can click on battery right here. It'll take us to the battery settings. Right now you're at 93%. You're using a little bit more battery than usual because brightness is set to high. I've done a couple of things to try to fix the flickering, but being that I have the other display connected and everything is fine, and this one is the only one that's flickering, then it's not anything to do with your settings. It's the wiring from the battery to the monitor. It has to be, because it's fine this direction, but it's not good this direction. Now you'll find people saying on the internet that they've changed settings here, they've changed settings there, different places, the battery power, power and sleep. They talk about when you unplug it, you can change the percentage of power or whatever. No, you can't. Not on this laptop. Supposedly you can do it in all Windows 10 computers. No, not this laptop. It's not showing up that way. So the problem is in the circuitry from here to here. Now, there are two cables that come from here and plug in. I'll show you that in just a second. I'm going to go ahead and pull this cover off so you can see exactly what I'm talking about. See? Like magic, I took the cover off. And the laptop is still running. The fan is good. Laptop's still running. And I've noticed that after it warms up a little bit, even if it's unplugged, after it's warmed up a little bit, it seems like it'll stop flickering. So let's leave it unplugged for a little bit and maybe you'll see what I mean. Of course, you can't make any changes without the keyboard and the mouse connected. But let's look again at what I was talking about. So here's the plug. Here is your on-off switch. Here's your video cable going to your monitor. It's right there next to it. Now, I have noticed that there are screws missing around the battery. Okay, there are only 3 screws holding the battery in. I noticed that when I first took it apart. So there's screws missing. That tells me someone has opened up the laptop before, at least one time. And being that that's the case, I also noticed that some of these screws were loose and I tightened them with a screwdriver. So that tells me someone loosened these screws, possibly removed the motherboard. And if they did, then they tried to disconnect this cable. And it may not be a good idea to disconnect this cable. I'm going to press on it a little bit and see if it changes. Yeah, see it sometimes it'll make the screen flicker because there may be a bad connection here now, because it seems to me that maybe someone tried to pull this cable off, and when they did, they loosened some of the wiring inside. But it's kind of hard to say because the screen flickers anyway. In addition, to counteract that, when it's plugged in, it never flickers, even if you press on this. So, where is the logic? The only logic I can see is that you do have 2 cables going to the monitor. One could be battery powered, and one is power cable powered. I'm not sure. Used to, back in the day, we would say one is for the left and right and the other one's for the up and down, vertical versus horizontal. But nowadays, I don't know what these cables are. I do know they provide the picture that you see. This wire that's way over here is for your antenna. It's the antenna for your Wi-Fi. You can follow it down all the way to here, and this is your Wi-Fi connector. So, going back to this one, the wire could be bad from opening and closing the laptop. See how I make it flicker? And now it's completely off. Well, it was. See, it's doing all that, but you can push on it and maybe bring it back, or maybe wiggle the wire. It's hard to say, isn't it? The mysterious thing is, the wire, if you think it's loose, all of a sudden, when I plug in the main power, the screen is as good as new. All wires are good. So, instead of thinking it is the wire, because it's fine right now, there's nothing wrong with it, you see, it was kind of all in your head thinking that. And being that you can move this freely without it flickering, as long as this is plugged in, everything is good. So, you have to start thinking it's from here to here in the motherboard itself. The battery is connected here at this spot, and the connections seem good. I did even brush them off to make sure you had a good connection. But remember, this is a new battery versus the old battery, and both batteries are doing the same thing. Over here, we have a red light. That is for... oh, the red light is for the battery. And now it went off, because the battery is now charged with the power cable plugged in. Alright, so the problem has to be between here and here. Either somewhere in the motherboard itself from when it was removed, or damaged in some other way. Maybe something got burned, otherwise damaged. It's very easy to knock off one of these resistors or fuses and maybe have a problem with your laptop. How can this be resolved? You can resolve it with a new motherboard, which is basically the cost of a whole new laptop. So it's best to go through life with it plugged in and not even worry about the battery. If you unplug it, you should know it's going to flicker. Case closed. That's what you have to do, because you're not going to fix this unless you're an expert electronic person with a multimeter that can pinpoint exact locations with the resistors and capacitors and all that good stuff, and then fix it. Good luck with that. I do believe that this is the video chip that provides all the graphics. I don't know for sure. The CPU for the motherboard, I believe, is located on the other side of this. The fan is cooling it. So, is it possible to maybe replace the CPU and end up with better graphics when the battery is in use? That is a possibility. It could be a CPU problem, but I'm just not so sure. I haven't read anything about anything like that. No battery flickering issue has ever come up from a CPU as far as I know. I could be wrong, but that's what I'm seeing right now. I hope that this explanation of everything has helped. I'm sorry, but yeah, the best thing to do with the laptop is always leave it plugged in. All right, catch you later.